Antonina, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here today. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here.
For those of us who don't know you too much yet, introduce yourself.
My name is Antonina Robles. I live in Boise, Idaho, and I work for HP. And I'm married and have 5 beautiful daughters.
Wonderful. I have two boys, and so I can't imagine how much sleep you've lost over the years.
I'm done, so it's a good thing. But I enjoy having 5 daughters. Let me just say
Absolutely.
that.
How old what's your age range?
So my age range is my daughter Sarah, she's 13 and a half. Sophia is 11. Susie is 10. Selena is 6. And Sylvia is 3 and a half.
Wonderful. You got the whole gambit to run.
Yes, yes.
Are you escaping in your hotel room and actually sleeping through the night when
Actually,
you're
I
here?
can never sleep when I travel. That's interesting.
Oh, this is supposed to be your
I know.
reprieve.
No,
You've been out partying the whole
yeah.
time like everyone.
Yes,
I know.
yes.
It's okay. It's all a celebration.
Yes.
So tell me about, where did you grow up? What first got you interested in STEM?
So for me, I actually grew up in Mexico, but my parents moved to Caldwell, Idaho when I was 10. And my parents always instilled the importance of education. And I was a good student. There was nothing to do in Idaho and Caldwell. So I became like really dedicated to my education. At the age of 13, I started working in the fields, but I knew that was not my end goal. Like my parents always said, you're going to get an education, you're going to do better than us. And for me, I was going to be a teacher. That was the only role models that I had. And then when I was around 17, I started thinking, okay, I need to get out of working in the fields. I need to do something different. I didn't like restaurants, so that's why I preferred to work in the fields
Sure.
versus, work at a restaurant. But I was getting at that age where it was getting closer to graduation. I needed to look for something else. So I actually started working at HP at the age of 17
Wow.
through a program that they had. So I went from, in the summer working in the fields to September 13 working at HP. So that was through HP, I was able to see a whole different world in STEM. That's when it's like, oh my God, I'm like, there's other things. There's like technology. I actually had been taking French for 3 years. And when HP hired me, I was like, no, I need to do like something tech related. So I dropped French. And then I took a class that it was the first time that the high school was offering, which was HTML.
Oh, wow. And was that what sparked your interest in STEM then, HTML?
Yes. Yeah. Well, it was the fact that I'm working at this tech company.
Yeah.
And I had the opportunity to talk to people now that were engineers, which was before I didn't have those role models.
Sure.
So the reason I wanted to be a teacher is because those were the only role models that I see. And that was the only thing. And I said, you can't be what you can't see. And that was my case. The only thing that I saw were teachers, right? So I wanted to be a teacher. But when I started working for HP, it just opened my mind to something completely different. So it was great to be able to kind of grow up at HP because it gave me the opportunity. Because initially I was going to be like a mechanical engineer, and I was an intern for mechanical engineer for 2 years. And then I said, no, you know what? I don't want to be a mechanical engineer. I asked my mentor, hey, what did you do? Like, what's your degree? And she told me, oh, I did computer information systems. So that's what I ended up graduating with.
Wow. Computer information systems. What? And where did you study?
I went to Boise State University.
Boise State. Is that where you encountered SHPE for the first time?
Yeah, so
Tell me about that.
okay, SHPE was the other organization, or it definitely changed my life. So I got introduced. I was fortunate enough to be introduced to SHPE when I was a freshman through a friend. He's actually here recruiting too, so we get to see each other at conventions. So as a freshman at Boise State University, my friend Arturo Garcia told me about SHPE. I joined. It was a struggling chapter at the time. They say, hey, come be the secretary. Okay, whatever that means. Like, I became the secretary. Next year, we're like, okay, we need a president. We tossed a coin, and I became the president. Arturo became the vice president.
Wow.
And then because I've been to convention, I tell everybody I was SHPEnotized.
SHPEnotized.
Yes,
Oh, I
that's my
love
word.
that term.
I became SHPEnotized at the 2002 New Orleans convention. That was as a freshman. I went to that one, and it's just like, again, like sparked my interest, reaffirmed like I don't have to be a teacher, like I can do something else. So because I saw like all the workshop, all the benefits. I just came back, when I was a chapter president, I did some changes. Like, I'm going to invite everybody. I asked the College of Engineering to like help me, or at least be able to provide some resources. Our chapter became super active, obviously recruited to fill out the board. We hosted a regional leadership conference. I had a great leadership team that enabled us to be recognized as the ISBSU like chapter of the year, and then that we also won like small regional chapter of the year and then national chapter of the year because of all the work that I do. It's just with all the passion. And then I saw the success that I had as a president, and I said, why not run for regional student representative as a write-in, because I decided kind of last minute. So I went as a write-in for the regional student representative, and I ended up being selected to be the regional student representative. And again, I was Region 3 student representative, which is the largest geographically, but we have the least amount of Hispanics in that area. And I set up my goals and I show it to my national student representative, which was Anita Ramirez. And I say, I want to increase membership by 50%. Wow. And they look at me like I was crazy because nobody says that. Like normally it's like 5%, 10%. And they're like, okay, they thought that I could do it. And I went and I did it. I did like created retreats for the chapter leaders. I did a lot of, because I had been president and I knew what worked well for me, I was able to help the incoming chapter presidents. And because I had done a regional conference, I could help the new chapter. It was New Mexico, the one from Las Cruces that they held. And so I was able to help them. So my regional role ended, and Anita put like, Antonina, you should run for national student representative. I was like, no way, somebody from Boise State is gonna win that, right? She's like, no, I think you'll be. By then, I proven that I increased membership. My region was doing well, right? And she's like, Antonina, Anita, like really encouraged me to run for national student representative. And I was a bit hesitant because I come from a smaller school. Nobody knows Idaho. Every time I met students, I tell them I'm from Idaho. They're like, Iowa? I was like, no, I'm from Idaho. I'm like, okay. Long story short, I put my platform like to run for national student representative. I have met, obviously students and I won. I became the national student representative, which was completely something different, but I knew I had the support from Anita. And during that time, like somebody that went from working in the fields, to working to HP, to now having a national position as, at an organization like SHPE, it was pretty incredible. And that just gave me the motivation, and I had a pretty impressive team. And during my role as national student representative, one of the key things, I did a lot of things I like to say, but something that I will remember forever and ever is that I was the student representative that brought the stalls that students use. I noticed during my term that a lot of students were like buying their own stalls. They were all different colors. Everybody was putting their flavors. So I came to the board and say, hey, why don't we just create like a policy where we give the stall? So we standardize the color. It's the SHPE stall. It's kind of like a token, like for student members to represent SHPE when they're graduating. And that was one of the key things. It got approved. It became like a standard, like to give out. I believe that's no longer. I think now they have to buy it. But that was something for a couple of years. The students were receiving their free stalls as a token of as a way for them to represent that they're SHPE members.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's amazing. And so what year was it when you first walked into SHPE?
2002.
2002. And you were elected the national student representative in what year?
2006, 2007.
2006, 2007. So between 2002, 2006, what happened? What got you SHPEnotized? What was it about walking into that room and being a part of that familia that was like, wow, I can't leave this? And what was the difference that it made for you?
I think for me, I saw one that I was getting a lot of personal development. So I never miss a national convention. For me, national conventions were almost mandatory because I was in the leadership, but at the same time, they were my fuel. They were my battery. Like I charged my battery at every convention because I was the first one in my family to go to school, and then going, back home, back, after convention, there were times where, let's say I was struggling with the subject and I was like questioning myself, like, can I really do this? But then I remember from convention hearing the stories, like other people share their stories. And I always thought, if they can do it, I can do it. And I always felt like convention and all the activities that SHPE provided was a way for me not only to improve my personal and professional skills, but I also saw it as a means to bring others with me. In fact, again, when I was the president of Boise State University, I brought the business majors, I brought in like communications, because I said everybody needs to know about resume writing. Everybody needs to know about how to do an interview. Everybody needs to know about negotiating your salary. So I opened it up beyond engineering. And for me, SHPE has been one of those organizations that truly helped me improve my communication skills. And the people that I've met at SHPE, in fact, last night was the blast at the lifetime reception, because I say I kind of grew up with Diana, some of the people that you still see being involved. We were involved at the same time.
Yeah. And so while you're kind of expanding into this SHPE universe, going to regional representative, national representative, what transitioning out of college into your professional career, what was that like, and how did SHPE help you there?
One of the first examples that comes to mind when I graduated from BSU, I definitely got my full-time offer, from HP. And I saw the offer, but obviously I've been to SHPE convention. I went to the one negotiating your salary. So first thing I did is I negotiated my salary. I asked for more. And I was obviously able to justify because I had been a leader within SHPE, so I have all this experience. And in my case, I've been an intern for quite a while, so I was able to do that. But I wouldn't have known that if it wasn't for SHPE. And the other thing is that I didn't stop at a student, right? Right after I graduated from Boise State, Diana at the time was a national president, and she appointed me as a National Affairs Committee Chairwoman, which then enabled me to help the next generation of. I was training now the National Student Representatives. I was working with the NSRs. I was leading the chapter awards, like some of that stuff. And so I continue to be involved in that sense.
That's amazing. And so you talk about this huge period of time spent in SHPE. And so we're talking over 20 years since you...
21 years, yes.
21 years since you became a member. And you talked about the transition from being a student member to becoming a professional member. And I know that there have been a lot of conversations within SHPE about the difficulty of retaining members from student to professional. And there's a lot going on when you start your career. You're likely moving, you have kids, you're starting families. It's a different stage of life. Can you speak to some of the students or young professionals who are in the midst of some of that transitional period and give some advice as to why it is beneficial to remain a professional member and what SHPE can do to continue to help you with your development?
Yeah, for me, one of the key things that I'll keep saying is you can't be what you can't see. And so for me, it was, I could be a teacher right now, but I'm thankful that, and thank you to all the amazing teachers. My daughters have amazing teachers, but for me, I want to be able to go back and make sure that I share about STEM. So I'm always often at high school. Actually, I usually focus middle school and elementary schools promoting STEM or doing like hour of code or anything that I can do to talk to them about just opening their mind about the possibility of STEM careers. So I really enjoy going back. Now, I think that there's a period where from a student to a professional, and for me, because I was really engaged with SHPE, I know that there were people that helped me. So for me, I see that I also need to go back and help the next generation, come back. And I think people often think that you need to volunteer like 1,000 hours to make a difference, but it doesn't have to be that case. What if you only volunteer an hour a month going to talk to an elementary school about your journey in STEM, or talking or doing like an hour of code or anything to inspire, kids to at least go to college. So for me, one is I always tell them, even if you don't want to do STEM, like go to college, like
Sure.
get an education, like do something. So that's kind of been my approach. And I hope that everybody takes the time to think, okay, I made it. I have my job. I have my family, all of that. But can I take at least an hour, maybe a month, to give back to the community? Or nowadays, even through Zoom, I know that I have joined like networking activities or help done like workshops through Zoom. So you don't even have to travel or, change up. So I think now there's even more opportunities to make a difference. We just need to make that commitment to make sure that, we can help the next generation.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what is your involvement in SHPE today?
I am currently the HP Global Ambassador, and I'm actually for this convention, I'm helping with the team, all of our HP to be here. I'm currently in the process of reviving our professional chapter, and as I mentioned, I continue to be involved in the community. I am a lifetime member, so anytime I can put a plug for SHPE, I will do it. But I think right now the biggest thing is making sure that I bring the awareness. So one of my main goals right now within HP is bringing more professionals to ensure that they also learn, because even here we have some executives that came from HP that they're from Spain, and they're like amazed of what they saw today, because obviously they don't have this type of stuff in Spain, and they were just very impressed. They love the opportunity to talk to students. And so the more professionals that I can get engaged and involved, the bigger impact that we can make in the community and in conventions like here.
Wonderful. And so you've spent 21 years involved in this organization, and we're sitting here today celebrating the 50 years of SHPE, right? And 50 years of serving Hispanics in STEM careers. And 21 years is a huge part of that. So I want to just give you some space to kind of reflect from 21 years ago and your first involvements in SHPE and where we are now, sitting here in Salt Lake City at the biggest convention we've ever had until next year, probably. Definitely, from what I hear. What have been some of the biggest changes in places that SHPE has grown?
I think one of the reasons for me to continue to be involved with SHPE is I think SHPE continues to evolve, right? We continue to see growth. We continue to see programs like Equipando Padres. I recently actually joined their mentorship program, and I also am mentoring a student that is from Detroit. So for me, I think SHPE continues to evolve. The leadership team and the board continues to look ahead, right? I think in our terms will be innovative, right? Like continues to do that. And for me, also the fact that, because I was really engaged, I think it makes a lot of sense to continue to be involved and continue to support SHPE and whatever they do. And the question that you asked me earlier, one simple thing that we could do to help and that I like to do is every time SHPE shares something like on Facebook, on LinkedIn, I simply share it, right? And sometimes I think I'm shooting to the star until somebody messages me. It's like, oh my God, I signed up to the Equipando Padres and my son really loved it. Or thank you for sharing this. Like I apply and my kids love it. So again, going back, you don't need to volunteer 1,000 hours. It's as simple as sharing a post and going back to the community. But going back to your question is, I think in the last 20 years, SHPE has continued to deliver on the promise of leading Hispanics in STEM. It continues to evolve, and it continues to have people that want to help. And you see people like Diana Gomez, who, again, like she's been involved probably for 23 years, right? Who continue to be involved because SHPE continues to help you improve in your personal and your professional career.
Yeah. And you speak of Diana, who I genuinely consider SHPE royalty, right? Who wouldn't? You can't spend any period of time talking to her and not realize that a big part of the reason SHIP is where it is today is because of wonderful individuals like her and yourself even. So I want to make sure that you know you're in that category too. I want to also follow up on a couple things you said in terms of like what it takes to make an impact. It could also often feel daunting to try and attempt to make an impact, but things as little as sharing posts, having conversations, giving advice, giving just support, words of affirmation before going into an interview, those things can have huge effects down the line. And so continuing to encourage everyone to get and continue to invest in whatever small way you can to your familia here. It does end up making a big difference. I want to follow up then also on where has your professional career taken you? We can't help but notice you're here in your HP shirt, and you started at HP for 17 years. What are some things that you're working on in your particular industry that, looking again towards the future in the next 50 years, what are some things, whether it be technology, ideas, innovation, that get you really excited about in your field?
Yeah, so for me, I joined when I was 17. I remember like one of the first things that I had to do was test the very first fax printer. So I know younger generation probably don't know what a fax is, but I hope you do.
I do know what a fax is.
Okay, so that was the first thing. And then I've done a lot of things within HP, but a year ago I decided to take a different direction. So I worked on the laser jet business for 22 years. And last year I made a big jump. And I think throughout my involvement with SHPE, it kind of made me think differently that it was time. So I accepted a role as Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Program Manager for HP. And I absolutely have loved, I'm not going to know the next generation of printers that is coming up, so I will miss that. But however, one of the things that I really enjoy is now that I get to make a bigger impacts in people's lives because I get to help students get their next career. And even the students that I've been helping here, a lot of times, even if they don't come work for HP, that's fine. I still give them like feedback on the resume. I have people that message me on LinkedIn, and I do my best to respond, as soon as possible, or even them connecting to the right people. And I was just at an IPC meeting, and one of the things, maybe we might be competitors on the career fair, but at the end of the day, I think we have the same mission and the same goal, which is to help all the students that are here. And so I don't know any trends. I don't know like any like tech stuff, but what I do know that in my new role, I have the opportunity to help develop people, to help influence like the partnership that we have with SHPE. I have a lot of things in mind that, all these things that we can do. I am the HP Global Ambassador, and what that means is that given that I have a lot of experience with SHPE, I have a regional team. I have, depending on the HP site. So for example, in Houston, I have a regional ambassador who works closely like with the Houston student chapter. We give them tours, we give them workshops. In Boise, I'm the one that goes to Boise State. I'm about to go to another university. And then we have people in New Mexico. So being in the role that I am enables me to continue to exercise SHPE, but now in a way that I can make a difference throughout the year, not just at the SHPE convention. Because for me, while the SHPE convention is amazing, we have the opportunity to talk to people. We don't want this to be a one-time partnership. We want this to be a year-round where we're helping students however they need us, right? I have students reach out to me and say, hey, how can I help you? I can give you a workshop. Do you want a tour? How can we, a student chapter, an HP, even let's talk about technologies, 3D printing. HP is known for 3D printing. We even have some of our technology in shoes. I don't know if you knew that. So there's a lot of things like going on, but being able to be in these new positions allows me to help students more directly and continue to mesh my career and SHPE.
Yeah. And that goes perfectly with talking about the next 50 years within SHPE as well, because obviously a big part of what SHPE is working towards doing is increasing the representation of Hispanics in these fields, right? And so I would love to hear you speak on the importance of creating more diversity, and I'd love for you to speak on the importance of creating more diversity in these fields. What do these industries have to gain by hiring SHPE members by hiring more diverse engineers?
Yeah. So diversity, I think, is very important, and a lot of people think of diversity as, sometimes like being like racial, but when we think about diversity, is diversity of thought, diversity of coming from different backgrounds, and I think all companies were looking for that, because if we all from the same place, we think about the same thing, we're not going to innovate. So when you think about diversity and bringing people from different perspectives, now you have an idea that I might have not thought about. And maybe we make a combined effort, and now we're innovating because we all have, different ideas. So it's very important to have people from different backgrounds. And, key thing is representation matters. And then Hispanics is the largest, population within the U.S. And I think our companies should start, should see a representation of that population. So it's important to have representation. I think the other thing is not have representation at all levels.
Yeah. And I think SHPE does this really beautifully, because when you think of how SHPE is made up, we talk about Hispanic engineers. Well, those are still very broad categories. We talk about being Hispanic. There are so many nationalities that make up the Hispanic culture, and they're all represented here at SHPE. And so you have the diversity of culture, diversity of thought that comes from different nationalities, different communities. And within engineering is a very broad category as well. We have, so many different diversity of engineers, again, all represented here in SHPE. So the ability to create diversity of thought, culture, experience is something that is fostered so well here at SHPE, and that is something that, again, you're talking about is so valuable to these industries, to these companies. The diversity of thought that is so well created here at SHPE. Well, Antonina, thank you so much for spending the time with us today, and for serving SHPE for so long and so passionately. We really appreciate you being a part of sharing your story with us, and for inspiring the future generations here at SHPE.
Thank you so much for having me. I have really enjoyed talking about my role with SHPE, and telling you about my SHPEnotized, being SHPEnotized in 2002. And I'm looking forward to the celebration next year in Anaheim. I hope, we to break all the records that we broke this year. So I'm looking forward to seeing all, we call them like the older SHPE, more experienced SHPEers, right? And the newer generation. So looking forward. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.